Folks, you only have yourself to blame. I'll explain what I mean and then get into the latest home prices and insights for the Peel and Durham region for week ending June 18th, 2025. It seems the people that have the absolute most to lose are the ones that also seem to take on the least responsibility when things go sideways. But they have the most to lose. Recently, on two separate occasions, I'm speaking with two sellers. Now, the two very different situations, the only similarities is that they're both selling homes that are less than 2 years old. They're freehold detached properties, less than 2 years old. They both bought from the builder. And as I'm sitting on two different occasions speaking with both of them about selling their home, both of them were complaining to me that what they got, what they thought they were buying, was different than what they actually purchased. They were complaining to me about all sorts of features. Now, when I'm selling homes that are this new, having the builder floor plans, the builder feature sheets often is very helpful. And as I'm going through the floor plan, you could see the square footage that the builders advertised. And for some reason, these sellers thought the square footage was different, was larger. I'm reading the feature sheets that kind of show what they're getting with the home, and that's what they got. But for some reason, these sellers thought they were getting something else. And then when I go through the purchase agreement that, again, lists some of the features, well, what they signed for is what they received. But they thought, because of what was told to them by the builder's salespeople, by their realtor, by whatever they saw in the feature home, they thought they were getting something else, and they didn't. And this happens often. But what they signed for is what they actually got. And as I'm going through the features and I'm going through their purchase agreement with them that they did years back, I'm saying, well, you signed for it here. And they're often puzzled, like, this is the first time they're actually reviewing their purchase agreement. Folks, you're buying properties. These homes are both detached, $1.5 million or more. And yet they don't read what they're signing for, which they're responsible for what they're signing for at the end of the day. You could blame everybody you want. You can blame the builder. You could blame the builder salespeople, your realtor, blame everybody. But none of those people are receiving what you just signed for. None of those people are paying the mortgage on this property. It's you. Read what you're signing for. And this is not only for people buying pre-construction. We see this in resale often. I'm sitting with somebody talking to them about a property. They've called me saying, hey, we're on the market. Not sure why it wasn't selling. Our listing has expired. Can you talk to us about what we got to do to sell our home? So I'm sitting with them and I show them, well, how come you didn't have any photos? And they're saying, what do you mean? The photographer was here. I go, well, I'm showing you your listing, your previous listing, the expired listing. There's no photos. And they can't believe it. I go, didn't you look at your listing? They said, no. Speaking with another guy. Again, the listing had expired, called me to sell it. And I'm showing him, I go, your home here, your listing reads 1 plus 3 bedrooms. Well, he says, yeah, I've got 3 bedrooms and 1 in the basement. No, but the way your listing reads, you've got 1 upstairs and 3 bedrooms in the basement. That's why no one's coming to see your home. It's a 1-bedroom home. It won't even show up in most people's searches because they want a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom home. And they can't believe it. And I go, didn't you ever read your listing? No, they never read their listing. They don't often read their agreement of purchase and sales. And then they wonder when things go sideways, who's responsible? Well, you know what? You could figure out who's responsible, but who's responsible for the actual problem at the end? It's going to be the person who signed. So let me leave you with this. If you're going to buy property, if you're going to do anything at all where you need to sign something, read it. because you could blame everybody in the world after. And you might be right. They maybe made the mistake, but you're the one that has the burden of dealing with the consequences of those mistakes. And if you have the burden, and oftentimes the financial burden of dealing with the consequences of these mistakes, at least be responsible enough for your own sake to read what you're signing. If you don't understand what it says, get that clarified before you sign. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Folks, if you're looking for peace, tranquility, a bungalow on half an acre north of Brampton, quite a bit north of Brampton, well, check out the link at the end of this video. The link will be on the screen. Let's get started. Today, we're talking about detached properties in Mississauga, Brampton, and Durham region. For Durham, I'm using Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby as my Durham sample. These are average sold prices for 3 months. Brampton and Durham, if you're catching us here for the first time, welcome. Brampton and Durham average sold prices are normally pretty close. Mississauga's way up here. For this week ending June 18th, if we take kind of midpoint between Brampton and Durham average prices, there's a $358,000 price difference between average sold prices in Brampton and Durham and Mississauga average sold price. Again, this is for detached properties only. We're going to start off with Mississauga. For week ending June 18th, 43 detached properties sold. 4 of those sold at $2 million or more. If we kind of look back at history, since the beginning of the year, average prices in Mississauga have been dropping. But since about mid-April, it looks like it's pretty clear average sold prices have been climbing. For week ending June 18th, the average sold price is $1,458,000. 1,458 is 2% lower than where we were the same week a year ago. The median price of $1,360,000 is 5% higher year over year. The dotted line here, that's a 4-week moving average, and both for average price and median price since middle of April or so, those average price and median price has been trending up for detached properties in Mississauga. 43 were sold, 5 of those, so 12% sold at list price or more. 192 detached properties were listed. That's a lot. I've got 3 months on the board here. That's the most in 1 week. So lots of new listings in Brampton for detached property, not in Brampton, sorry, in Mississauga, are coming on the market. Active listings, which represents the amount of properties actually available for sale, it's over 1,000 now, 1,026. So based on the sales that we've done for week ending June 18th, 4.2% of the available properties sold during that week. So about 96% didn't sell. Months of inventory came down from the previous week, but overall, I would say it's climbing. We're now sitting at 5.5 months of inventory, which I gotta say, months of inventory is the relationship between supply and demand. Economics don't always work out the way they're written in the textbooks, meaning as months of inventory climb, prices should be coming down, and as months of inventory drop, prices should be trending upwards. Well, that's not happening here. Overall, months of inventory, I would say, is climbing, but so are prices. We would expect prices to come down. We would expect also prices to come down because of the volume of new listings coming onto the market and active listings climbing. It's not really happening in Mississauga right now. Here's Brampton. For week ending June 18th, 57 detached properties sold. 2 of those sold at $2 million or more. Average sold price since April, the beginning of April, I would say in Brampton, have been trending up slightly. So for this week ending, the average sold price is $1,129,000. 1129 is 2% lower than where we were the same week a year ago. The median price of $1,030,000 is 10% lower. The dotted line again is a 4-week moving average, both for average price and median price. Looks like those numbers are up slightly over the previous 3 months. 57 were sold, 17 of those, so 30% sold at list price or more. Listings, 255 were listed. So listings, the volume of new detached property, not new, but new listings coming on the market. Now, some of these listings, I got to say, maybe even a lot of them are relistings, meaning previous listing was terminated for whatever reason or expired, and now the property is being relisted again. 255 detached properties were listed. Active listings is climbing. We're almost at 1,400 available detached properties for sale. 4.2% of all detached properties for sale sold during week ending June 18th. And months of inventory sitting now at 5.6 months of inventory. Here is what I'm using as Durham region, Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby. For week ending June 18th, 59 detached properties sold. Only 1 sold at $2 million or more. Average sold price is sitting at $1,072,000. And overall, for the same periods that I'm looking at for Mississauga and Brampton, where I'm saying prices seem to be trending up, for this region, they seem to be trending down. Compared to last year, $1,072,000 is 5% lower. The median price of $1,040,000, slightly higher, but it rounds up to a 0% change year over year, or round down to 0% change. The average sold price, the dotted line, the 4-week moving average shows that for 3 months, prices are slightly down or maybe even flat. 59 were sold, 24 of those, so as much as 41% sold at list price or more. So it's a lot more competitive in Durham region, yet prices seem to be trending down. 168 were listed. There's 719 available detached properties for sale. Active listings is climbing. 8.2% of properties, of detached properties available for sale sold, which is basically double the percentage that is selling in Mississauga and Brampton. 2.8 months of inventory for Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby. It's one of the lowest months of inventory for a region of that size. Here's a quick summary. Look, in most cases, you're going to experience a buyer's market or a balanced market. There'll be some situations where you may encounter a seller's market. There's not a lot of them out there, but it'll be a fantastic property at a great price, and buyers will be prepared to compete for that. Now check out this awesome bungalow on half acre. The link will be on the screen. Have an awesome day.